just wanted to make sure that I'm audible. Well, thank you. First of all, to invite me as a keynote speaker on this in this conference. First of all, the initiative that has been taken by IIMT College of Management is something really uh, very good. That today, not a lot of schools, colleges are doing this kind of taking these kind of initiative. So helping students understand what is emerging in the market, what are the innovative technologies that's out there that's been used by the companies, and what's in demand in the market is something very important. Like me, as I have already gone through a similar path in my past. I've done my BTech, and I was in engineering for 4 years, and I never got an opportunity to have been exposed to something similar, wherein we could have some seminars like this and understand what's happening out there in the market. How exactly do we need to mold ourselves to for the industry, so that when we go for an interview or when we start working in a company, we are accepted in that environment. So for that, we need to prepare ourselves in advance, which is still not happening actually. Very limited amount of colleges do that. I don't know of a lot of them who do that. So that's really a very good initiative which was initiated, and definitely the partnerships and the contact that we have had between the college and our company, the initiative taken by Abhinav Bakshi and Dr. Abhinand, which is very good, and I really appreciate that. In this keynote, although I wanted to just take this a little amount of time to share with you what I couldn't learn and how exactly students can benefit from it, and how exactly the things could be better in the future for you. Just a quick introduction about myself, and then the whole presentation would be around that. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have three different companies. One in India, Escure Infosec Private Limited, in which I'm a co-founder. I have in Paris, France, also Security Geek and My Market Up. We have employees in Paris, in Africa, in India, and United States as well. We have few partnerships, and we also have our office opening up in United States. So we work with different clients on cloud security matters, and consulting on different cloud security issues, cloud security related threats, and as well as on cybersecurity issues. So our main core domain is around cybersecurity and cloud security, and that would be the subject which I'd be talking about today a little bit to give you a brief glimpse. I have had the opportunity to do a similar talk in the past, not similar, but more of a talk with you guys at your college about cloud security, and it's somewhat on the same lines. So, well, first of all, let's put context to all this, because before we get into technical, before we get into all those things, first we need to understand why we are here, what we are doing here when we are in the college, when we are studying these subjects. First of all, you guys are lucky to have been able to get these kind of subjects, which is the core subjects in the market today, which is cloud computing, virtualization, blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, web application, data analytics. These are the subjects which are actually in demand in the market. As a matter of fact, today in my company, I have requirements for almost all of those subjects, and we are constantly hiring people, working with different interns, and in similar domains. So it is a very good domain to be. The second thing that I would also like to share with you is, which I learned like few years back, that to grow in life and to become successful in life, what we should do, the only secret behind being successful or being able to do something, and that's something exactly what has worked for me as well. What we can do is invest on a skill, as we call in Hindi hunar also, that we should invest in a skill in which we can make ourselves so good that we end up becoming creators, experts, consultants. And that's what I did actually. When I started my career in the cloud security industry, I knew nothing about it. But since I started, I never stopped. I've done my masters, I've done plenty of different certifications out here. I've just noted few of them, but I have had many other certifications. I have at least 30 or 40 different certifications in cybersecurity and cloud security domain. It's also a way of showing uh, assurance in front of client that they are in talks with someone who is well versed with that subject. So all that to tell you is, The only secret to success is to invest in yourself, invest in the skill in which you want to go. If you want to do business, learn business skill. If you want to do marketing, learn marketing skill. If you want to do cybersecurity, learn cybersecurity, learn cloud security, and never stop, because you never have enough. Every other day you have something new to learn. Like, as a matter of fact, just we'll come back to that subject also, that I want to talk around cloud security. So that's the message that I wanted to pass. Now, getting into the technical aspect of it, of my speak today. Why technical? It's not really a training or anything like that. Just wanted to expose the subject which is in demand today, which is relevant to the courses done at your college, at IIMT College of Management, and the different subjects that you have around cloud computing. I just wanted to quickly go through those subjects. Just we already talked about the business locations. So yeah, a little bit of agenda, just quick introduction to cloud, pillars of cloud security, challenges of cloud security, peek into cloud security market, and the next steps which you guys can do with respect to your courses. So this is a similar slide that I've used in the past also with you, and I use very often in my different talks to quickly understand what cloud is. So in the center, we have cloud provider, which is the different vendors out there. It could be AWS, Google, or Azure, which are the big cloud vendors out there. And they provide different kind of services. They have different service layers where you can have your software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service with your virtual machines in there. Then you have different cloud brokers, which do some kind of a little bit of service around those cloud technologies and provide you what you're looking for. So when you are working in the cloud domain, you can definitely be working directly under cloud provider. You can be hired by different big cloud vendors, IBM, AWS, Azure, as a cloud architect, as someone who's developing the solution. But more often than not, we find ourselves more of around cloud broker, wherein we work for the companies who are consulting other companies on these cloud providers, who are the major cloud providers in the market. So we end up working for these people here, cloud broker, wherein we act at times as architects, wherein we are doing integrations, or at times we are the security people, wherein we are helping them secure the infrastructure or help companies secure their infrastructure. Similarly, when we talk about security, there are also cloud auditor. Now, though the difference between the security aspect on cloud broker and cloud auditor is a little different, because cloud auditor are more of the independent organizations who audit these cloud providers to ensure that what they are doing is at par and respects all the regulations and conformity and all the legal aspects of data protection and things like that. So it's more of in those aspects. So even our security services is under this cloud broker service. And then finally, cloud consumer is the client. So this is how the cloud is organized and how it works. Now, as you would have also gone through your courses, or you would go through it, that today the main aspects why cloud is important, why cloud have started to gain a lot of attraction, is because of this broad network access, that the services are broadly available. You can connect from wherever you are, whether it is your country, any state, any city, any place. You just need an internet connection and you connect to your cloud service. Rapid elasticity, which allows you to change your server sizes overnight. That today, when we need to get a bigger server, we have to think about, or rather in legacy today, there are more of cloud that's happening. But still, when we talk about the legacy infrastructure, when we used to have requirement of a new server or increasing the hard disk or something, there were huge costs involved, there was huge planning involved and things like that. But today with cloud, all we need to do is just at a click of a button, we can have an extra terabyte of hard drive, an extra gigabytes of RAM, maybe 32 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes, based on whatever is needed. And that's also in terms of cost. It is something very much cost effective. I'll give you a very practical example of our company itself. we are working around cloud security services and also cloud security solution, which we are developing in-house. So we work around the algorithms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, in order to train those algorithms and to work and make those algorithms better, we need to have more and more data. And for processing that data, we need a lot of capacity. So today, if we go back to the old times, or the companies who are not so much into cloud, if they have that kind of requirement, what they need to do is going to get a big server with a lot of RAM, a lot of hard disk, and the test is for like barely 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, and maybe then you don't need it because maybe the use case was not correct. Maybe the thing that you were working on was not right, but you have already got the server, and hence that's a wastage of money. And this rapid elasticity in cloud allows us to use that cloud services, build a server, launch a server very quickly using different infrastructure as code, where in just with few lines of code, we can have a complete infrastructure deployed, a server, a data analytics system, a dashboard, a visualization system, a graph database, all that in matter of seconds. And then we can all destroy it in the next few hours. And hence we don't end up paying for it for the eternity because we have bought the server. So that's a very good advantage, and that's which is also called on-demand self-service, that we can launch those services whenever needed. Resource pooling, because since you are not having a server for your own, it's shared between different consumers, different clients. When you are using a cloud virtual machine, that's a virtual machine which is hosted on a hypervisor, which is also shared with other clients. Though you can definitely go and get a hypervisor of your own in the cloud provider infrastructure, but definitely that costs more money. So that's where resource pooling is also an advantage around cloud concepts. These are all taken from NIST. I would suggest you people to also check the different recommendation from NIST, especially when it comes to cloud security and different standards and different aspects in which the cloud should be secured. NIST is a very good reference, which is by United States, and they really come up with new articles, new elements time and again, with updated information on how exactly we should secure our cloud and stay up to date with our cloud infrastructure. Challenges of cloud security. Now, this is something that comes from our experience that we are living today in the market. As we work with different clients, the different challenges that we have seen in front of the clients. What's happening today is that, okay, basically, when we talk theory, so far it was theory. What is cloud? What are the advantages? What are the challenges? But today, what's happening in this world out there is it's not just one cloud. It's multiple clouds that customers are using. I'll give you an example of a normal company that happens in, I think, 70% of the companies out there. What happens when it comes to cloud, especially with the COVID context, things have revolved a lot around that. So what has happened is people have started getting Office 365 subscription to have their email system in the cloud, to have their team system on the cloud. We are having this meeting with Teams, to have their conversation and all that on Teams, and everything is handled by Microsoft. So it's a very easy and simplistic alternative, instead of having everything on premise like we used to have, or still many companies have, like Skype Enterprise, which we had on premise, then the Exchange server, Active Directory server. All that is a lot cumbersome to maintain, and hence Microsoft came up with this possibility of having everything in the cloud. Like right now, let's say I'm a new company and I want to have a messaging system for all the employees. I want to have an email system. I want to have this kind of meeting possibilities that people can meet, talk. In a matter of few minutes, I would say not more than 5 minutes, I can have the whole infrastructure ready for me. Although in the legacy infrastructure, it could take hours to build something like that. So that in a regular company, that's where the whole story starts from. They're already there in Office 365. They started using all the collaboration software and things like that. Now they think that, okay, now there are a lot of benefits of using cloud, the one which we just discussed. And for our development team, we would need to have some cloud infrastructure. So let's go and buy some infrastructure as service and some space at AWS cloud provider or Azure cloud. And then eventually they start getting into that cloud. When they have started using that AWS cloud, after a few months, after a few years, they will say that well, I think there is some services which is better provided by Google Cloud, and because of our Dockerization, Kubernetes, and things like that, since they are Google products, it would be much better to leverage Google services for that. Okay, let's go and get some Google services. So what happens is, after a few years down the line, the company, or after a few months of being in the cloud, the company finds themselves into multi-cloud environment. Like they started from Microsoft Azure with Office 365. They have the IaaS services on AWS or Google Cloud. The reason behind going to AWS is also because since AWS was the first to come into the market, and even today, if you talk about cloud market share, AWS holds, I think, somewhere more than 65% of the market share, and the rest 35% is shared between Google Cloud, Azure Cloud, IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, all the other different cloud vendors, big or small, is shared between them. But still, the big part of the market is AWS because they started the very first. And since they started first of all, there's not a lot of competencies around cloud in the market, and the people who have had it with AWS. Like today, if you go out and try to get some courses, trainings on cloud security or cloud architecture and things like that, some neutral trainings, very often than not, like me personally, I have paid trainings like 7,000 euros for a training wherein I went to understand cloud security, learn cloud security, and I expected that they would at least take the three big vendors and give equal knowledge on all of them. But no, 70% of that training was centered around AWS. So what happens? Everyone, first of all, there are not a lot of people out there, and the few people who have the cloud knowledge sticks to AWS because that's what they were trained on. So today, the whole reason behind all this story was to say that today customers very often find themselves in a multi-cloud environment. Now, since they're in multi-cloud environment, and then definitely the second reason, as you see, merger and acquisition also makes multi-cloud inevitable because one company was already on AWS, the other company is on Google Cloud. They're merging up. They cannot just delete all the servers from Google and come to AWS. They need to continue their server aspects of it and things like that. So that's inevitable when merger and acquisitions happen. And that's where the challenge comes into picture, that as I said, that today, first of all, there are very less cloud architects or cloud knowledgeable people out there. Even though we have some cloud computing knowledgeable people who can do cloud integration, cloud infrastructure, cloud management and things like that, or be at the cloud broker side and give cloud support and things like that. But then the security is again not at all into the picture. Like the very less, extremely less people who are into the cloud security domain. Everywhere people are looking for cloud security consultancy, like big companies. Like right now, around 1 month back, our company signed a contract with an e-commerce company in France. And this e-commerce company is one of the oldest company in France. It is like 200 years old. That's when the company was built 200 years back. So you can imagine how big that company is and the kind of resources they have. And when we got in there, what we could see that on cloud security, they are on Google Cloud and Azure, they have not much. There's nothing which is secure. There's nothing which is monitored because there's lack of talent. There's lack of expertise in the market. And there's no one in their company, as a matter of fact, in their company, there's no one who knows the security aspects of those cloud environment. Even though a company which I'm talking about, which is 200 years old, have so much resources at their disposition, they don't have a person because there is a lack of that expertise, and hence cloud security is the area to be, is the place to be. And that's why our company, Security Geek, we chose to be a cloud security actor specifically in that niche, because many companies out there, there are a lot of companies who are working on cloud security. Even if I take big names like Accenture, IBM, or all the other small companies who are working on cloud security. But the problem is that these companies are not only working for cloud security. They start with integration, they start with management, they start with, because that's where the big dollars are. Today, companies want to go into the cloud. They don't care about security. They want to save money. They want to go with the flow. They want to get digitalized, developed. So all they need is help them go to the cloud. That's all they look for. If we talk about security, they said that's a different subject. We'll look at it later. We have never been hacked. So when we'll be hacked, we'll think about it. And hence, The companies are focusing on that, and they just put a little bit of cloud security at the end. Although our idea, our strategy is to be only around cloud security. We do consulting on cloud security. We are developing our product on cloud security. And when we collect all that data for the cloud security, after auditing all that data, getting all that data, we are working on applying machine learning, which eventually would help us in intelligence, artificial intelligence, to take decisions and help customer understand when there is something bad or not in the market. Although it's not that there's no company at all, there are a couple of them, or two or three of them out all across the globe who are doing things like that, and that's where we are trying to get into the market and target that niche. So, summary of this slide was this: try focus on cloud security. Again, as I said in the beginning, it's the skill that you choose, and if you're choosing it, go to the end of it. And it is something really very interesting. Interesting because I love learning, but I'm sure you'll find it interesting as well, because there are a lot of things to do. Like right now, I was the thing that I wanted to tell earlier, just like 10 minutes back or 15 minutes back before we started this call, I was just going through the different news articles that I follow, which is very important when you are in cybersecurity industry. And I found out that there has been a data leak happened from an attacker group who has been very active since the Russian invasion has started on Ukraine. Most probably they are from Russia. They're called Lapsus, Lapsus. They have hacked a lot of companies in the past 2 weeks. And this morning, like this 20 minutes back, I came to know that the company that I give services to have been hacked as well, and their data has been leaked. So I informed the incident response team. They're on it right now. And the reason why it happened, the whole summary of the story, the reason why it happened, because the hackers did publish that what exactly went wrong and how exactly they were able to hack. It was because the DevOps culture, the development in the cloud, the DevOps, dev operations was not secured. There was a lack of DevSecOps, the security in that DevOps, or the best practices of security in that development practices. And hence, they were able to steal the username, the passwords, and hence get into the database and steal all of it. And today, they have been a victim of data leak, and hence there would be a lot of costs that would have to be paid in the future now to balance that, to be able to fix that. But all because that cloud security today is not well addressed in any company in this world. In any company in this world, there is a lot to be done. This is just a quick landscape of cloud security. I'm sure when you just quickly search on cloud security market 2022, 2021, you guys you would be able to see what kind of market is there today, what does it represents, what's the potential of the market, and that would be enough to convince you that this is the domain that you should be in. Very quickly, just wanted to add some a little bit of additional knowledge to it. SASE is something to be known. Today, we don't talk a lot of it, though in companies and in one way or the other, we have started using it. Like even in the company I'm consulting right now for, that's another bank with around 3 lakhs user all over the world. I'm heading their cloud security for the whole world. Even in that company, if I ask 5 people what SASE, they won't know it because it's a very new concept. To make it simpler for you, though it's very complicated, it gets into software-defined networking and things like that. So it's networking on software, not on wires, something like that. But then I'm going to simplify it for you so that you guys can have a initial idea of what SASE is. SASE is all about getting everything from on-premise legacy infrastructure, every security aspect of it, which we're doing, and putting it in the cloud. For example, with the proxy services that we were using on premise, we put it in the cloud. It's called next generation web gateway. We put it in the cloud. When we say put it in the cloud, it means, let's take an example of IIMT. There is a network of IIMT. There are a lot of computers in IIMT. Earlier or even now, what's happening is there is a firewall, there's a proxy, there's everything on premise. Whenever anyone wants to go outside on the internet, download anything, it's all filtered on premise with the server, which is already in your network, in your infrastructure. The SASE, what has been brought up is putting all that in the cloud. So what happens is there's no network, everything is decentralized. There is no network. All the computers are connected to the internet, but those computers have an agent in it or have a configuration in it that when you try to reach Google, let's say, for example, google.com, yahoo.com, facebook.com, you would always go through that cloud. Let's say, for example, Security Geek is your SaaS provider and giving you cloud security services. So every time you try to access google.com, you'll go through one of our servers, which is there in the cloud, because we have told your system that whatever you want to fetch from the internet, you have to go through this. Like for you, internet is Security Geek. You go to Security Geek will send you where you wanted to go. So there would be a filtering done on Security Geek, and Security Geek is in the cloud. So this is how the SASE infrastructure is designed, the secure access service edge, that it puts the security aspects of it in the cloud, the proxy, the firewall. So for example, on premise, we used to have firewall. We have firewall, like 99% of the companies, we have firewalls everywhere. So what we do is we allow or deny that, okay, we allow this kind of traffic, we don't allow this kind of traffic, or we're filtering that these kind of web categories or websites are allowed, these kind of websites are not allowed. All that happens on premise, but SASE allows to put all that in the cloud, and you go to the cloud. And what's the advantage? Why exactly this is adopted is because, first of all, it's consistent. That means, let's say you have like different departments all across the globe, let's say some around 5,000 offices. It's not always possible to maintain all those 5,000 offices in the whole world at the same security level, because the person who's handling security, let's say in the Delhi office, won't be the same who's handling in the California office. They both have different time zones. They don't work together. They don't know each other. They're going to do things at their own way. And hence, there won't be a consistency of security efforts all across the globe. And if an attacker is able to attack the weakest link in the chain, which always happens, eventually the whole company gets impacted by it, because they're all connected to each other, but they are not in the same security aspect or the same security configuration. So this SASE allows to have that consistent security all across the globe, because every time every user in the example that I gave you, every user, when he's trying to access google.com or malicious website.com, they have to go to that server, which is Security Geek server in the cloud, and then go to the internet. So that's where it happens, that everything is consistent. The same policy applies to everyone. The security is flexible because it's all managed from one single place and it's all configured at one single place. Ownership cost is reduced. As I said, that when there are different companies, different departments, there are different people handling it. Hence, the ownership cost, like everywhere you need to have, let's say, 4 people of security, which is costing you around, let's say, $200,000 every year. So that's multiplied by 500 offices. That's the cost that you're paying. Although, since now everything will be centralized with SASE, you don't need to pay that much cost. All you need to have is a single Spock person or a contact that who can pass these messages and let you know what's going wrong, what's not right. Similarly, it allows for optimized performance for cloud solution. Why? Because what happens is, the idea, now getting into a little bit of networking aspect of it, why it is called the service edge when we say secure access service edge, because it's an edge network, which means that this is a network which is connected with a wire all across the globe. There are not a lot of companies who have that kind of network. We have Google who have that kind of network. AWS has that kind of network. There are a few new companies who have been able to rent these networks. So what's happening is, everything that you're doing on this network is connected with wires all across the globe, under the sea, under the ocean. There is a connection end to end, and hence the speed by which you access internet gets much more faster than reduced. Because what's the problem in the legacy infrastructure, just to complete that part, is whenever we need to access any company resources, we connect to VPN. Now, to connect to VPN, let's say that network, that servers in India, you're connecting to that VPN from France, you have to go through a lot of hops and a lot of different, the regular networking concept, that how exactly you get to the final destination. There's a lot of hops, there's a lot of calculation that happens, and finally you get to the network. So as far as you are, as many autonomous systems you are crossing, all the hops that you're doing to reach to the destination, the more the time it takes, and hence it has some lag. But with SASE, since it's all connected to wires, and since it is in the cloud, you connect to the most closest server, which is nearby you. So if I connect from France, I connect to the Paris server. If I connect from India, I connect to the Delhi server. And similarly, the access becomes much more easier and faster. Although there's a lot more about SASE. It's a complete subject in its own, but it is something very interesting coming up which you need to be aware about. So please go ahead and check it out and just search SASE, SASE, and you'll be able to get a lot of information, articles, papers on this subject. And it is actually in use right now today. A lot of companies are getting into it in different ways, although they don't give it the name SASE, but they're using it either as cloud access security broker, they're using as firewall as a service in the cloud, as proxy, things like that. Very quickly, we just talked about AI ML, that how exactly we are using it in our industry in cloud security, because the problem is cybersecurity in its own is about searching for a needle in a haystack. And searching for a needle, so far, how we've been doing, we have actually been searching for that needle. We are using huge amount of data out there, huge systems who do all that data analysis, data analytics. But then what happens is, end of the day, you run out of different ways how companies can be, or how softwares can be attacked. So there has to be a way to be able to understand patterns. There has to be a way to be able to understand the anomalies which happens. There has to be a way to understand when something out of ordinary comes into picture, because let's say for a small company it might be manageable, but when we are talking about companies of huge sizes, let's say Microsoft, for example. Microsoft has companies all across the world. They have a lot of departments, a lot of employees. They all generate data. If you're getting all that data, analyzing it in real time and making sure that there is an analyst, N1 or level 1 analyst, who's going through all that data and making sure that there's nothing wrong in there, it's very cumbersome. And hence artificial intelligence and machine learning now have a very big place in cybersecurity. Another problem about cybersecurity and artificial intelligence machine learning was that why exactly we have not been able to use in the best way possible so far is because cybersecurity consists of a lot of things. It could be your antivirus on your computer. It could be the password that you use to connect to your computer. It could be any files deleted on your computer. It could be the networking aspect, switch, router, firewall, proxy, web application firewall. There are a lot of things in a company's infrastructure, and it changes from one place to another. It's not always the same. Apart from a computer and an antivirus, you always find other components changed in different companies. So what happens is, if a company is building, let's say, an artificial intelligence machine learning model, an algorithm to be able to analyze that data, I'll work for one client, and when I go to another client, there would be a different set of data, a different set of systems being used. Then what happens is, a lot of companies are collecting some data, the companies are not collecting that data, because to store all that data, they need hard disk, they need hard drive and things like that, and hence they don't store it. So you have a very gap of that data which is not similar everywhere. Although with cloud security, what's happening is, since you're using cloud provider services at AWS, Azure, Google, or any other cloud provider for that matter, they have no option but to store that log. So you already have that data in the same way for every customer, whether I'm talking to a customer here in France, whether I'm talking to a customer out there in Delhi who's using AWS services, they would have similar data. And hence, for me to apply that algorithm, which I have built, which I'm developing, would be much more easier. And hence, artificial intelligence and machine learning have a much better place when we talk about cloud security and the data generated around cloud security. Well, that would be all. Just again, we come back to the same thing. The next steps will continue, keep sharing these kind of information. Security Geek have also signed a memorandum of agreement with IIMT College of Management. We'll also try to increase our reach to all other different sections, different departments, and different entities of IIMT group of colleges. So the idea is to strengthen our relationship, and this is my way of giving back to my country, and that's my pleasure to be connected and having people like Dr. Abhinand, Dr. Abhinav Bakshi, who have been relentlessly behind this and have allowed us to have a better visibility of what all subjects you go through, sharing your syllabus with us, showing us how exactly your courses or your students could be of interest for a domain like us. So these things have been done in very good way, and I'm sure that this would just bring good results in future. So very soon we'll be coming back to your faculties and dean to get some interns from your college to work on different projects. The very next project that we are working on is around data analytics and artificial intelligence, machine learning. But around that, there are a lot of other subjects that will be coming back to you guys to work on for. Like currently, to give you a status, again, that's not that important, but again, that piece of information is very important, is to be able to legally do that, officially do that, that Security Geek will be giving certificates for internship, offer for internship, and then finally a certificate of completion of internship. To be all that legal, we are working with advocate over here in France to work on all that paperwork, so that that certificate, that offer later would be something which would be recognized all across the globe. It would just not be a piece of paper which is like participation certificate. Okay, thank you for participating. No, we are taking it seriously. We want to make sure that when students are giving their time, when college is engaging themselves, they get something out of it which is concrete and valid in this world, legally talking. Well, that would be all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Daddy Sharma.
Welcome.
Mr.
Thank
Sharma,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Daddy Sharma, thank you so much. Am I
I
audible,
can
sir?
hear you, sir. Yes. You're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you
I
very much.
really appreciate. I'm sure that at this moment in Paris, it would be around 12:30 to 1 afternoon, sir.
Yeah, I actually took my lunch hour to make sure that I
Yeah,
share these
so
insights.
I really appreciate the way in which you have managed time, your lunch hour you are giving us, and we are here to listen from you. It is really great, and we all appreciate all faculty members, all students have really enjoyed your session. It is very knowledgeable, highly learning one, and most importantly, you manage time from your busy schedule, sir. You sacrifice your lunch time and gave us this keynote address. We are really thankful, and we look forward in future also to have similar kind of guidance and address from you. Thank you so much, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.